What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Covering the Commanders with Josh Taylor. This is the new YouTube channel talking all things Commanders. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And on this video, I know everyone is sick of hearing about Brandon Aiyuk, but I think it's important to really assess where things are right now, what needs to happen for Aiyuk to actually get released and come to Washington, and what the Commanders should do. Welcome to the channel. Like I said, make sure you are subscribed. And I only wanted to do one Brandon Aiyuk video until something actually happens. Now, we know the 49ers and Aiyuk have been going through this split since last November. This has been dragged out for way too long, and it's taken a lot of twists and turns, and people just don't really know what to expect right now. So I think it's fair to just sit back and be like, hey, this is where things are at, and this is what needs to happen next, and when things could actually get done, which honestly, it's in the hands of Brandon Aiyuk, and I'll talk about it, but he's going to have to do something that he is not comfortable with. But let's start with the NFL draft. As everyone expected, we head into the 2026 NFL draft. The 49ers are trying to trade Brandon Aiyuk. It's no mystery. They're looking for something, and nothing happens on their side of things. As a matter of fact, Adam Schefter even said that they've had trouble getting in contact with Brandon Aiyuk, trying to work out a trade. So what happens with these trades? And it's pretty much the same for everybody. This has happened with Michael Pittman Jr. It's exactly what happened with, Debo. And it's exactly what's happening or should be happening with Brandon Aiyuk, but he doesn't want it to happen. So when a team is open to trading a player, what happens is the agent or the camp, whoever, some people don't have an agent, like Laramie Tunsil doesn't have an agent, their camp says, okay, you're trying to trade my player, in this instance, Brandon Aiyuk. You're trying to trade Brandon Aiyuk. So it's my job to go feel out with teams who is willing to give him the contract that we're looking for. So for the Steelers, for instance, when they traded for Michael Pittman Jr., which the Commanders were actually one of the top teams looking to get him, they were talking about the contract and what that could look like for Michael Pittman Jr. And his agent very, very likely said, hey, Indianapolis, we talk to these teams. These are the teams that you can really engage with trade compensation for. And this is the kind of contract that they're talking about. So it's kind of a three-way street. You have the team that wants to trade a player, you have the agent, and then you have the teams that are interested in that player. So I guarantee you the 49ers have tried to, gauge what his contract would look like. And a lot of people have said it's probably going to be like a 1 year, $8 million deal, somewhere around that. I'd say 8 to 9, high end of 10. I would be surprised if it got over 10. But the 49ers are pretty much like, hey, what teams are willing to give you this contract? And they can't get in contact with Brandon Aiyuk. And honestly, Brandon Aiyuk is being smart, because he knows that he has to actually participate in this three-way deal with his agent, who I don't even think he has an agent right now. I think his agent dropped him because of just everything that's been happening. But if he doesn't talk to the 49ers about like teams, like I can tell you this, a source that I talked to that is close to the situation on the player side of things, not, with Washington or with the 49ers organization, but a source very, very close to the situation on the player side of things said Brandon Aiyuk has no interest in playing anywhere else. He said, I promise you, if he is released, he will be in Washington. So Aiyuk knows that he doesn't want to engage in all these other teams and, talk to teams about where he could go and what the contracts would look like, or his agent or his representative or whoever is doing those conversations, because he doesn't want to go anywhere else but Washington. So if he doesn't do that, he's just looking at the 49ers like, I'm just going to sit here. I'm not going to do anything, and I'm going to wait for you to release me so I can go to Washington and play with Jaden Daniels again. But here's the catch. And I got to give a shout out to Graham on Twitter, at Graham_SFN, does a great job with 49ers content. Honestly, one of my favorite people. A lot of really good people on that side of their fan base that do a lot of great content. But shout out to his name's really Brad. But shout out to Brad, because he mentioned a good point of how Brandon Aiyuk honestly holds the keys. So I know he's probably just waiting for the 49ers to release him, but it's not that easy, because if Brandon Aiyuk does not report to the team, they can put him on a did not report list, which voids his roster spot. And it also voids having to pay him anything. So if he doesn't report to mandatory minicamp, if he doesn't show up to OTAs, if he doesn't show up to training camp, the 49ers don't have to do a single thing. They can put him on that did not report list. And I don't think they're financially obligated towards anything with Brandon Aiyuk until September. So he's going to have to eventually give in and show how much he wants to be released. The 49ers say, look, you want to play hardball. You don't want to be here. You know, it sounds like he was doing what he was supposed to at the time. And then once that report went public that, you know, they were going to split, he said, you know what? I don't like that. I'm out. And even George Kittle said he was doing everything he was supposed to do until that moment. Then he dipped on the team, which honestly, I don't blame him. Like, you're going to put that out about me, I'm going to be out of here. So it's just such an interesting situation. And it seems like this saga is not going to be resolved anytime soon. And Lynch even said after the draft, like, we are open for business. He literally picked up his phone and said, call us. We are willing to talk. Like, they want to get a deal done. They want to get a trade done. They don't care if it's a 6th, a 7th, a 2028 7th. It doesn't matter. They just want to pick. But no one's going to trade a pick for a player that you were saying will eventually be released. Who cares if he's released in September? Who cares when he's released? I'm not trading any kind of pick compensation for a player that I know I can get. Because you're also having to rework his contract that he currently has. And I know he has no guaranteed money. But it makes no sense to trade anything for a player that you know is going to get released, let alone a player that you know wants to come play for your team, aka Washington. So he's going to have to report soon, though, because if not, the 49ers will put him on the did not report list, and it's going to drag this thing out even more. He needs to apply pressure. He needs to shock everyone. Do you know how big the headlines would be if Brandon Aiyuk shows up to mandatory minicamp and he's on the side field, just arms crossed, you know, saying, oh, I have an injury or whatever they decide to do, you know, make some big public thing about it, or he practices. He is 100% healthy. He has been healthy since November is what I was told, around week 9 or so. I don't know where that is on the schedule, but I'm pretty sure it was like late October or somewhere in November is when he could have started playing. But he said, I'm out. I'm done with this whole situation. So I don't think it's a thing of, oh, is he healthy? Would he actually contribute? I think he would absolutely contribute. I think he's ready to go. But he has to apply pressure to the 49ers. The media will explode if Brandon Aiyuk just surprises everybody and shows up to mandatory minicamp, or even OTAs or training camp or whatever. It will be national headlines, and it's going to put more pressure on the 49ers to release him. So it honestly, yes, it really falls on the 49ers eventually releasing him, but Aiyuk holds the keys. He cannot afford to just be, you know, absent and just deciding to be away from the team. He has to really swallow his pride and report and go to the meetings and be around the team again. And in those uncomfortable, awkward situations, he's going to have to do it if he wants to play again. So that's the thing, though. Is he willing to do that? Because a lot of people are like, hey, I think it's 50-50 on BA ever playing football again. 50% say, I think he will. I think he's just waiting to go to Washington. And the other 50% is like, I don't know if he's actually going to do the things that he needs to make that happen. Maybe he just says, I'm not reporting. I don't care. If I don't play, I don't play. I don't know where his stance is on that. But I just know that if he is going to play, it's going to be in Washington. But this is absolutely something to watch over the next few weeks with teams reporting for camp and stuff like that. But if you're Washington, what do? And it's absolutely nothing. It's business as usual. You know, someone else I talked to, and I've seen other people report the same thing, saying that, you know, Brandon Aiyuk could absolutely impact the offense, but relying on him to be like your wide receiver 2 is kind of a malpractice because you don't know what you're going to get out of Aiyuk at this point, mentally, physically. Like I said, I do think he's healthy, but is he like football healthy? Like, is he ready to go full speed in a game, 4 quarters, in a long season on the road, go through the grind of the season. I don't know about that part, but I just know that he could be a boost, and that's why it's going to be a 1-year prove it deal. You're not going to invest anything major into Brandon Aiyuk. I think it is worth it. But in the meantime, there's nothing you can do about it. And of course, there's been reportings on their interest with Jawan Jennings, and they've been interested in Jawan Jennings. If y'all remember on my other YouTube channel, before I moved on and decided to do my own thing, that I told y'all that they were in contact with Jawan Jennings, and one person told me that he was looking for $21 million a year during free agency, and teams were like, absolutely not. So everyone's like, how is Jennings still out there? Why has Jennings not been signed yet? He had like, what was it, 9 touchdowns last year, whatever. Like, he was very productive last season at a premium position. How is he not with a team right now? Because he priced himself out. But I was also told that teams are hoping to get him into the 12 to 15 range, which is drastically different than the number he's looking for. So we'll see what happens there. But he met with the Minnesota Vikings last week after the draft. There was no word on them signing a contract. I have not heard anything with any other teams. But it sounds like Washington's absolute, like, you should be interested. You address that slot position, and he can be your Z2 with Antonio Williams in the draft. Love that pick. I think he's going to be a target machine, but they do need another outside wide receiver. And I'm not talking about Noah Brown. They need another legit outside wide receiver. But he is going to be turning 29 years old just before training camp. He's a July boy, just like me. And I'm predicting I think he wants a 3-year deal. I think he's looking for that longevity, like that last long contract. I think that could be a holdup with teams too. If he is looking for a 3-year deal, I said I would do a $45 to $50 million 3-year deal contract. I would want him closer to that $12 million mark, and I would not go above $15 million a year. Absolutely not. Would not. 21 was absolutely insane. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, he's not signing with anyone anytime soon. And then like Debo, I would be open to bringing him back as well. It'd be another 1-year deal, but at the same time, I don't think he's what they're looking for on the outside in this offensive scheme. I think Jawan Jennings fits with what they're trying to do on the outside. With David Blau's scheme, and I think we will see Antonio Williams outside a good bit. I think we'll see him mainly in the slot, but you're going to see him out in the Z, going in motion, pre-snap, cutting across the field, just opening up the middle of the field, and just, I'm telling you, he's going to be so productive. I'm so excited for Antonio Williams, but I would like to see another outside guy. Like, I don't trust Luke McCaffrey at this point. I don't trust Jalen Lane at this point. Like, who is going to be that next guy? If Terry McLaurin gets hurt again next season, we're going to be right back in that same boat. I think they should be slightly aggressive in getting Jawan Jennings. Because you don't know about this Aiyuk situation. It could literally drag on until right before the season in September. And at that point, it's like, if he joins, the third final preseason game, I'm not feeling good about him trotting out there week 1. I need BA to get a solid month, 2 months would be great. Learning this new scheme, just getting back in the groove of thing, learning his teammates, like reconnecting with Jaden Daniels. I need that. I don't want him trotting out there like a week off the team, just getting his jersey and stuff, figuring out what his number is and learning the playbook. And then a week later, it's week 1. That's the nightmare situation for me. But it's such a balance. Are you going to be aggressive and maybe pay Jawan Jennings more than you're comfortable with? And you're gonna lose Aiyuk at that point. I don't think Aiyuk would come here after they sign Jennings, because he's going to be farther down the depth chart. They're probably going to give him less money than what they were because they just invested more money in Jawan Jennings. But then also, are you willing to say, hey, we can let Jawan Jennings go because he's asking for too much. We're just going to wait on this Aiyuk situation because we know he's going to come here if it happens. But it's an if. That's an if. It's out of your hands if you're Washington. So it's a lot to think about, but that's where things are right now. And like I said, this is the only Brandon Aiyuk video I'm doing until he is actually released and signs a contract with Washington. But that's something that could happen September, the day before week 1. It could drag on for a while. I know a lot of people said June 1st, June 1st. June 1st has nothing to do with this. They have no financial obligations towards BA until September. They do not care. He has no guarantees left. They can drag this thing as long as they want. And from what we've seen, the 49ers have no problem in doing that whatsoever. So that's my thoughts. That's where things stand. This could take a very long time. And I'm going to move on from the Brandon Aiyuk situation until something happens or until I hear something. But I think it was important to really take a look at things, break things down from the 49er standpoint, BA standpoint, and then Washington standpoint. What do they do? It's business as usual. You got to keep moving. If he joins, cool. If he doesn't, oh well, you were prepared for him not to be here. But I think they still do need another outside wide receiver. Maybe make a trade. I'll say this, man. I was surprised to hear that them and the Giants were the top 2 teams for Michael Pittman Jr. At the time, because they wanted to trade for him once they heard that he was available. But the Steelers, obviously, like I said, offered the bigger contract for Michael Pittman Jr., and he just liked that fit more. It was like a day 3 pick swap. It was nothing trade compensation wise that held it up. But I was surprised to hear that Washington was willing to make a trade like that. But they were aggressive towards Alec Pierce, and they finished second. They were aggressive in getting Romeo Doubs, and they finished second. I still think that extra outside wide receiver is what they would want to add if they're going to add something else. And there's still some other free agents out there, but you got Kendrick Bourne, who's probably on the trade block. You're going to have some surprise cuts, before the season starts, when they really cut things down to the 53. You're going to see some players that you're like, oh, okay, I forgot about him. I didn't think that he would be available. That is someone that Washington could pursue. So it might not be Juwan Jennings, and it might not even be Brandon Aiyuk, but I promise you, they're going to add another wide receiver to this roster before the season starts, because even after drafting Antonio Williams, it's not that good of a room. They still need to do some more help, and they've been very aggressive this offseason in doing so. But I appreciate y'all checking out this video. Like I said, make sure you are subscribed to the new channel. Got a lot of exciting things cooking up. I know it's the off season, but there's so much coming up. May, June, and then July with training camp kicking off, which is going to be a blast. I'm going to be there, of course. And also subscribe to the Substack covering the Commanders. That's where all of my written work will be from now on, all of it. Also audio podcast, if that's what you're looking for from me. That's going to be on the Substack as well. And then I also put these videos there too. So YouTube, rebuilding the YouTube channel, it's going to take some work. A channel that was over 7,000 subs, had it for 2 years, built it up. But I'm so excited for what we are going to do. I have a great community behind me, a ton of support already, and I cannot thank y'all enough. So make sure you're subbed up, hit that notification bell, and you never know who the heck I'm going to have on this channel. I got a lot of collabs cooking up. I got one big thing I hope works out that is kind of in the works, but we'll see what happens. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see y'all later.